Hi sophomores, welcome to week 5 of Multimedia Design and the last week of the graphic design unit. So just bear with me, this video might be a little bit longer than the other videos because there's a few things that we need to review and cover before the end of the unit. So we are going to be talking about your final draft, feedback, the park system. We are going to be doing a very brief Illustrator and Photoshop walkthrough of some common mistakes I tend to see. And then the last thing we're going to be doing is walking through Canvas. So let's talk about just graphic design as a whole and what you need to do in order to complete this unit. So by Sunday, the final draft of your infographic is due. And this is the one that should wow us and take us away. So your task is to look at the feedback that I gave you in last week's assignment. Look at that, take it in, and see what you're going to be implementing to your draft in order to make it absolutely amazing. And that is your final draft. So once you look at the feedback, implement it, improve your infographic, you're going to be saving it and then turning it into Canvas, and you will be done with this unit. The last thing you will need to do is do your week 5 quiz. So again, just a reminder of what I want you to do when receiving feedback. The first step is to come in with an open mind before you look. So before you go in and look at that feedback that I give you, just have an open mind. And also remember to have a better product mindset. So the feedback I gave you is only so that you can improve your project and receive all of the points you can for this assignment. So let's review the park system briefly. And again, it's composed of proximity, alignment, repetition, and contrast. So this is a representation. So let's implement the park system to truly see how it can improve your representations as a whole and your data as a whole. So the first step will be proximity. So the titles are close to the representations that they are talking about. So you can see that everything got shifted. So it starts with the title at the top, and then it has the 3 representations underneath. So whatever needs to be grouped together, it's together, so they're in proximity to each other. The next part will be alignment, and that is aligning things in a way that makes sense. So if you want all of your titles to be center and your representations to be underneath, then you should follow that consistently throughout your entire infographic. So you can see in here that all of the titles got aligned and the representations right underneath are aligned to that as well. The next one is repetition. So now you can see everything is aligned in the same way and it follows the same pattern. So it's 2 representations at the top with 1 at the bottom. So you should be repeating patterns that you use or the same representations for the same data. For example, if you're representing distance from home with cars, you shouldn't change it halfway through. So you shouldn't have 1 university being measured in feet, 1 in rulers, and 1 in cars. It should be just 1 all throughout. And the last one is contrast. So how are these colors going to be working together in order to make each one of the data pop out and not wash them out? So remember all components of the park system, and as you're working on that final draft, make sure that you're implementing all components of the park system. So let's walk through Illustrator and Photoshop very briefly about 2 of the most common mistakes I tend to see. The first one with Photoshop, I already have an image, is that a lot of you guys are not taking off the white background from the school logos, mascots, whatever you're using. So if it's a UW-Madison logo, it usually comes with the big W and then it has a white background. If you put that onto a pink background, it's going to really take away from it. So I want you to take off that white background so it's only the representation that's standing alone. And I'm going to show you how to do this in Photoshop. So once you have your image in Photoshop, I'm going to go ahead and unlock my layer. And I'm doing that because there's not much that I'm going to change, and I want to change it and be able to save it. So now that my layer is unlocked, I'm going to go ahead and click W in my keyboard, which is going to bring up all of the quick selection tools. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go for the magic wand tool. Magic wand, if you remember, it gets rid of any of the colors that are the same. So you can click sections and it will get rid of them. In this case, because there's different shades of the grass and the background, it's doing it in smaller sections, but that is what you're looking to do. So you should be getting rid of all of the white backgrounds that are in your images. Once you do this, you're going to go to File, you're going to go to Save As, and make sure that you save it as a PNG. Why I'm asking you to save it as a PNG is because it retains its transparent properties, so it is able to not have a background and still be saved. So you hit save, and now you hit OK, and now you have an image that does not have a background. Now I'm going to go into Illustrator, and there's nothing in my artboard, but I just want to show you how to save because this has been a common mistake I've also been seeing. So when you're in Illustrator, in order to save, you're going to go to File and Export. This is where you want to be in order to get a JPEG image that you can turn into Canvas. So you will be hitting Save for Web. And that is because it's going to give you the highest resolution possible. You change it from a GIF to a JPEG. You make sure its name, it's in the right places, and you hit Save. Once you hit Save, you're going to be able to save that JPEG image as a whole, and that is what you can turn in. So now let's walk through Canvas. So you have your week 5 video, which you're watching right now. You have the presentation. You have the final draft infographic submission, and it has linked to that original activity prompt that you saw your first week. Just reminded you what I'm looking for and what steps you need to follow in order to complete it. And also, the last thing you need to do is to do your week 5 quiz, and I'll give you a preview of that right now. It's going to ask you 2 to 3 things that you learned in this unit and 2 to 3 things that you are still unsure about. Once you complete all of those things, you will be done for this week and you will be done with the graphic design unit. If you have any questions as you're working on things, feel free to email me and I'll be happy to help. That is it for this week, and I'll see you next week.